From ancient rhetoric to modern neuroscience, one truth remains. Language shapes the way we think. Aristotle called it lexis, the choice of words, as the cornerstone of persuasion. Fast forward to today, and neuroscience confirms that the words we use activate the prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason, planning, and decision making. In fact, studies show that mastering the structure of language improves cognitive clarity and emotional intelligence. At the core of this structure is the noun. Small, often overlooked, but powerful. Why? Because nouns don't just name things. They organize our thoughts, drive our communication, and define the roles of every word around them. So today, we go beyond what is a noun and explore what nouns do, their functions, their responsibilities, their ability to bring structure, clarity, and authority to every sentence we speak or write. Let's begin. The subject is the noun in command. Every sentence needs a captain, and that's the subject. The subject is the noun that acts or receives the action, setting the entire sentence in motion. Examples. Steve Jobs changed the tech industry. In this example, Steve Jobs is the doer of the action. That is why it is the subject. The annual summit was streamed globally. In this example, the summit is the simple subject, and the annual summit is the complete subject. It is in the passive voice, so the subject, which is summit, receives the action of streamed globally. In active voice, the subject takes initiative. In passive voice, it absorbs the action. But in both cases, it remains the sentence's anchor. Now that we've met the commander, let's get to know the noun that refines identity and sharpens definition. It is called the predicate nominative. Sometimes a noun steps in not to lead, but to define. This is the predicate nominative, the noun that follows a linking verb and renames the subject. Examples are, Angela became the chief marketing officer. In this example, the chief marketing officer renames Angela, making it function as predicate nominative. It gives Angela an identity. This platform will be a game changer. In this sentence, game changer is the predicate nominative because it renames the subject, which is platform. To understand it further, the predicate nominative is the noun that tells the world, here's who or what I really am. Once identity is defined, it's time to put that identity into action. And for that, we need someone or something to receive it. What is that called? Yes, it is the third function of noun called direct object. The direct object is the noun that receives the action of the verb. When action flows from the subject, it lands somewhere, and that destination is the direct object. This noun answers for what or whom is the action done. The direct object also completes the meaning of an action verb. Action becomes meaningful when it's directed. Examples are, the board approved the proposal. The board functions as the subject. It is the doer of the action. The word proposal receives the action of being approved. It answers the question, what is approved? In example number 2, the CEO announced a new initiative. The initiative functions as the direct object because it receives the action of the CEO, which is announce. It answers the question, what is announced? A new initiative. In example number 3, the manager briefed the new hires. The new hires function as the direct object because it is the receiver of the action, briefed. Who is briefed by the manager? The new hires. Action becomes meaningful when it's directed. But some actions go further. They're not just received, they're given. Let's meet the noun that shows generosity or service. It is called the indirect object, the recipient of the action. A direct object receives, but an indirect object answers. To whom or for whom is the action performed? In the following examples, the underlined words function as the indirect objects. In the first example, the audience answers the question, to whom is the compelling call to action given? Answer, the audience. To whom did the team send the report? To the investors. In the first example, the subject is the speaker, and the direct object is call to action because it answers the question, What did the speaker give? Answer is call to action, a compelling call to action. To whom is the compelling action given? To the audience. Thus, the audience functions as an indirect object. Again, the indirect object answers the question, to whom is the action given? In the second example, the investor serves as the indirect object because it answers the question, to whom did the team send the report? To the investors. Often we need to clarify who we're talking about in more detail. That's where our next function comes in. The appositive, the clarifier. An appositive steps beside a noun to clarify or rename it. How do you spot an appositive? First, it's a noun or phrase. It's right next to another noun and it renames or explains that noun. It's usually punctuated by commas. For examples, my mentor, Dr. Reyes, taught me leadership communication. The book I'm reading, Atomic Habits, emphasizes behavioral change. The appositive adds trust, specificity, and credibility. Now you try. Add appositives to these sentences. My favorite cafe serves amazing croissants. Mount Mayon erupted last year. All right, that's great. I want to share also my answers. My favorite cafe, a tiny spot near the university, serves amazing croissants. Mount Mayon, an active volcano in the Philippines, erupted last year. Now, let's take this precision a step further, into location, direction, and time. It is called the object of a preposition, the link connector. Nouns don't just act and receive, they connect. A preposition forms a bridge, and the object of the preposition completes the thought. The object of a preposition is the noun or pronoun that comes after a preposition and completes its meaning. Examples. Let's review the agenda before lunch. Here on the first example, the preposition is before. So the object of the preposition is lunch. It is the noun that comes after the preposition. The second example is, he led the workshop with confidence. The preposition is with. So the object of preposition is confidence. It is the noun that comes after the preposition with. Let us now proceed to the third example. The file is saved on the shared drive. On is the preposition. The shared are modifiers and drive is the object of the preposition on. These nouns help organize our thinking, meetings, and workflows. But some nouns don't follow action or location. They follow intentions and ambitions. Now it's your turn to identify the objects of the prepositions. She sat on the chair. What is the object of the preposition on? Yes, correct. Chair. We walked through the park. What is the object of the preposition through? Correct. Park is the object of the preposition through. He gave the gift to her. Okay. Her is the object of the preposition to. Did you know that the objects of the prepositions help organize our thoughts? Anyway, some nouns don't follow action or location. They follow intentions and ambitions. That is the role of the next function of noun, which is the object of the infinitive. The object of the infinitive is also called the dream or aspiration. An infinitive to plus base verb expresses purpose. And when a noun follows it, that noun becomes the goal or vision. The object of an infinitive is the noun or pronoun that receives the action of the infinitive verb, the to plus verb form. Example of infinitive are to love, to sing, to grow, to study, and so on. In the first example, she strives to become a thought leader. The infinitive is to become, and the object of infinitive is leader or a thought leader. In example number 2, he plans to launch a startup next quarter. The infinitive is to launch, and the object of infinitive is a startup. And just as vision requires action, so does analysis. That's where the object of a gerund enters. In English, when we add ing to a verb and use it as a noun, like analyzing, mentoring, improving, it becomes a gerund, a noun that expresses an action or mental activity. But gerunds often don't stand alone. They are often followed by another noun that receives the action of the gerund. This noun is called the object of the gerund. Examples are, analyzing market trends requires attention to detail. Market trends is the object of the gerund analyzing. Improving customer experience builds loyalty. Customer experience is the object of the gerund improving. Mentoring junior staff enhances team culture. Junior staff is the object of the gerund mentoring. Another function of noun is the objective complement, the transformer. The objective complement renames or describes the direct object, often showing how someone sees someone else or what someone is made to become. Examples. The committee elected Elena president. We consider innovation our trademark. Here's a test. Insert to be. If it fits, you have an objective complement. For example, the committee elected Elena to be president. But sometimes, even in passive constructions, the object stays. Let's explore that. Let's now explore a special type of noun function, one that survives even when the sentence flips. It's called the retained object, also known as the passive survivor. So what happens here? Well, when we switch from active voice to passive voice, we usually expect the object to become the subject, right? But sometimes an object stays in place. It retains its role in the sentence, even though the verb has gone passive. Think of it this way. The sentence may shift direction, but the focus stays on what was received, what was assigned, or what was given. Let me show you. She was awarded a promotion. They were given an opportunity. The intern was assigned a mentor. In each of these sentences, the retained object is a promotion, an opportunity, or a mentor. It didn't disappear, it didn't move, it stayed. That's why we call it a retained object, because it remains visible and important even in a passive sentence. This structure is powerful for formal writing, recognitions, and announcements. You'll often see it in company press releases, award citations, academic reports. Instead of focusing on who gave the promotion, the sentence highlights what was received. This keeps the attention on the result, not the doer. Let's talk about one of the simplest yet most powerful ways we use nouns, not to name a thing, but to name a person directly. This is called direct address, and it's an attention grabber. When we use a noun in direct address, we're not just saying something about someone, we're speaking to them. That noun calls someone out in a respectful, focused, and engaging way. It's what gives our message immediacy, presence, and most importantly, connection. Let's take a look at some examples. Colleagues, we begin at 9 sharp. Dr. Santos, your input is invaluable. Team, let's exceed our targets this quarter. In each sentence, you'll notice something important. The noun, colleagues, Dr. Santos, team, isn't the subject. It doesn't perform the action, but it brings the listener in. It calls them forward. That's why we call it direct address. It's especially useful in public speaking, professional emails, team huddles, leadership communication. Because when people hear their title or name, they pay attention. They feel seen. And that makes your message land with more impact. So remember this, direct address doesn't move the sentence grammatically, but it moves people emotionally. It creates focus, builds rapport, and invites engagement. And in the world of professional communication, that kind of connection, it's everything. Now let's uncover one of the most efficient and subtle tricks in professional language. Nouns that don't just name things, but actually describe them. This is the role of nouns used as adjectives. And yes, they're hidden in plain sight. You see, sometimes a noun works undercover, right beside another noun, quietly giving it context, clarity, or category. These are called noun modifiers, and they're everywhere, especially in business communication. Let's take a look. We're hosting a leadership seminar. Update the content calendar. She developed a strategy document. In each case, the first word, leadership, content, strategy, is technically a noun, but it's doing the job of an adjective, modifying another noun. It tells us, what kind of seminar? Leadership seminar. What kind of calendar? Content calendar. What kind of document? Strategy document. These noun adjectives are power tools in writing because they save space, add precision, and sound professional. That's why you'll often see them in headlines, bullet points, executive summaries, email subject lines, and even file names. They make your language crisp, concise, and clear. a must in today's fast-paced communication. So the next time you write a report or a slide deck, ask yourself, can I tighten this by using a noun as an adjective? Instead of a document that outlines strategy, you might simply say a strategy document. It's lean, it's sharp, it's language that leads. Ready to spot more of these in your own writing? You'll start noticing they're everywhere, just quietly doing their job behind the scenes. Now, let's wrap up with a quick review of what we've covered so far. As we close this masterclass on the 12 powerful functions of nouns, let's take a moment to step back and see the bigger picture. Nouns are not just names. They are the architects of meaning, the anchors of thought, and the drivers of professional communication. Let's review each function, not as a grammar list, but as a toolkit for leadership, clarity, and persuasion. 1. The subject, the noun in command. Every sentence needs a leader. The subject takes charge, either by doing the action or receiving it. 2. Predicate nominative, the identity shaper. When a noun steps in to define the subject, it becomes the predicate nominative. It answers who or what is the subject really. 3. Direct object, the action receiver. This noun catches the verb's energy. It tells us who or what received the action. 4. Indirect object, the recipient of the action. Beyond receiving, some nouns show for whom or to whom the action is done. 5. Appositive, the clarifier. An appositive stands beside another noun and explains it. An appositive builds credibility, specificity, and trust. 7. Object of the infinitive, the dream or aspiration. When a noun follows to plus verb, it becomes the goal. 8. Object of the gerund, the mental challenge. Gerunds are action concepts. The nouns that follow, they show mental work. 9. Objective complement, the transformer. This noun renames or describes the direct object, completing the transformation. 10. Retained object, the passive survivor. Even in passive voice, some nouns stay visible, especially when showing benefits received. 11. Direct address, the attention grabber. This function calls someone directly, making communication personal and urgent. 12. Nouns used as adjectives, hidden in plain sight. Sometimes, a noun becomes a modifier, efficient, professional, and powerful. Now that we've walked through the 12 powerful functions of nouns and explored how they shape leadership communication, it's time to pause and reflect. Let's check in, not to test you, but to strengthen your understanding. Please take a pen and a sheet of paper. You'll see a list of sentences with bolded words. Your task is simple. Identify the function of the noun in bold in each sentence. Is it the subject, a direct object, an appositive, etc.? Trust your instinct and apply what you've learned. This isn't about perfection. It's about mastery in motion. The more you practice, the sharper your language. When you're ready, let's begin. Pause the video if you need more time to answer. Again, should you need more time, just pause the video. Now let's take a moment to check your own work. This isn't about grading, it's about growing. As I reveal the correct answers, compare them with what you've written. Please check your answers. I will also explain the answer of each item because understanding how nouns function in real-life communication isn't just grammar. It's your toolbox for clarity, persuasion, and executive presence. 1. Sally. Always begin your day with intention and purpose. Function, direct address. Sally is not acting or being described, it's being spoken to directly. This is the attention-grabbing function that builds connection and immediacy. 2. Miss Reyes, the coach, entered the room with quiet confidence. Function, appositive. The noun coach renames Miss Reyes. This is the clarifier. In leadership messaging, it helps reinforce identity and build credibility. 3. Jerome remained captain of the Innovation Task Force. Function, subject. Jerome is the one being talked about. 4. She is Vanessa, my mentor. Function, appositive. Mentor renames Vanessa. Again, this is a clarifier. It tells us more about who she is in a professional context. 5. Your parents are your strongest supporters. Function, predicate nominative. Supporters comes after a linking verb, are, and renames the subject parents. This reinforces their role. 6. The director gave the team a clear vision for the quarter. Function, indirect object. Team is who receives the clear vision. The direct object is vision, and the team is the recipient. 7. The season of reflection brings leaders great joy. Function, direct object. Joy is what is being brought. It receives the action of the verb brings. 8. The founder granted the volunteers the freedom to lead initiatives. Function, indirect object. Volunteers receive the freedom, direct object. Again, we see this classic structure. Verb, indirect, direct. 9. The speaker fasted for 40 days to strengthen discipline. Function, object of preposition. Days follows the preposition for, completing the phrase for 40 days. It's a connector of meaning. 10. When did the intern receive her certificate of growth? Function, direct object. Certificate is what was received. It answers, what did she receive? 11. The board elected Rose project lead. Function, objective complement. This one is tricky and powerful. Rose is the direct object and project lead is the objective complement, which tells us what Rose was made to become. Pro tip, insert to be. The board elected Rose to be project lead. That confirms it. 12. The trainer explained the problem in team synergy. Function, direct object. Problem is what was explained. It's the receiver of the action. 13. Protesting. The proposal was a mistake. Function, object of gerund. Protesting is a gerund. It functions as a noun because it is the subject of the sentence. The proposal functions as the object of the gerund protesting. 14. To give your employees a substantial increase in growth opportunities will benefit the company. Function, object of infinitive. The full infinitive phrase is to give your employees a substantial increase. The object of this infinitive, to give, is increase. It's the goal or outcome of the action. 15. The branch manager was doing great. Function, noun used as adjective. Branch is a noun used as an adjective modifying manager. This type of construction is everywhere in business English. Project team, vision board, strategy session. These are nouns acting like adjectives. When you master the functions of nouns, you're not just memorizing grammar. You're learning to think strategically, write with clarity, speak with credibility, and lead with language. So the next time you use a noun, don't just ask what it names. Ask what role is it playing? What power is it carrying? Because in the sentence of success, nouns don't just name things. They lead, define, receive, clarify, connect, transform, and inspire. Well done, dear student. You have just unlocked one of the most powerful tools in professional communication, the functions of nouns. I will see you on the next topic. Bye for now.